I've been thinking about this crazy little thing called love. It's known as an annual holiday, a genre of media, or even an indoor sport. We all have our conceived notions of it. A special someone, maybe? Don't go there? Sorry. I didn't mean to get personal so quickly. Though, as humans, I think we're rather incapable of keeping love a broad topic. As Bell Hooks would say, many of us believe that to speak of love with any emotional intensity means we'll be perceived as weak and irrational. Yet it's inherently personal and emotionally intense, our very reason for being here. Our modern, increasingly post-capitalist digital age has brought about the commodification of the human experience, and that includes love. The world of modern dating, dominated by the glow of smartphone screens and the endless possibilities of the internet, has rewritten the rules of romance. While bringing unprecedented convenience and choice, it also raises fundamental questions about the nature of our connections. Are these digital interactions deepening our understanding of love? Or are they leading us towards a more superficial understanding? I know I'm not alone in experiencing it. I wouldn't realize I had something to say until a culmination of events all met at a crossroads in the form of a viral moment on Twitter. On the first day of November in 2023, I went to the beach. I live in Southern California, and it felt like any other day in July. The beach is my third place. I grew up with it always being a reasonable drive away, but I was primarily an indoor kid. I skipped out on the junior lifeguard program kids do here in the summer. I've never surfed. Physical activity wasn't something I was too keen on. Getting older, gaining autonomy, I found myself increasingly going at any chance I could. With friends, alone, in the daytime, in the middle of the night, it didn't matter. So much of what I've written for this was based on experience that took place on a beach, interestingly enough. It was otherwise an uneventful day. I had brought the book to read, admittedly, for the first time. I had skimmed through it, read it passively, but it stayed on my desk throughout summer into fall. I was afraid of it, afraid of places in my head it was going to bring me to. Much of my summer into fall saw me in an erratic state of mind, acting on impulse, on feelings I couldn't describe because up until that day I had been lying to myself, therefore lying to everybody else. I proceeded to take a nap. I used the book as a shield from the sun. At some point within that time frame, I posted a picture to Twitter. I went on with my day until the next morning, completely unbeknownst that in a short amount of time, I'd have hundreds of people sending threats and calling me a lot of mean things for putting a book in front of my face. I remember waking up to a quote tweet already having a noticeable amount of response for only being posted about 15 minutes prior. I gulped. I've had my fair share of time on social media. I could sense what was to come, as it happens every day now. The joke was just too good. What shocked me most was my reaction to it, anxious laughter in a state of shock for what felt like a week. When the comments and responses lost the silliness, they took a sharp turn into anger and hate. I found myself feeling a blend of shock, curiosity, both at my impulsive responses, my behavior after the fact, how much it hurt in the moment. It brought me many empty days, sleepless nights, topped with an intense guilt I felt for feeling this way. How dare I, when at the time of recording this, we're bearing witness to a genocide in real time. My face wasn't in the image. I wondered if that made it easier for everybody to forget I was a real person. I thought about every other person in the entire world who's ever had this happen to them in some form. People used to get flown out here for Ellen and shit. Was I just the twink that can't read now? Or would everyone forget about it by tomorrow? Going viral has scale and hierarchy now. The digital realm is so globally massive, a post like the one I was involved in can reach millions of people and it's amount to absolutely nothing. I can't physically comprehend over 100,000 people liking that post, let alone 4 million seeing it, or the countless others in reposts, and we were never supposed to. All we're feeding ourselves constantly are flashing images of people you don't know, and depending on factors like notoriety or outreach, you may only see them once. The experience was as riveting as it was painful, but I grew up going to a Christian private school for most of my K-12 experience as the gay little kid that talked funny, so I can take a few bullies by now. What confused me the most was that an act as passive as taking a picture with a book over my face could invite whoever, from wherever, to pick apart and come to whatever conclusion about me they wanted from it. I realized how passively I'd been living my life until now. Along with me for the ride was the book itself. Across different social media threads I could find in reproductions of the now become meme, there were some pretty strong opinions of how I was treating the paperback book. The insight this book provided me, arriving in my life during a period of deep introspection, coupled with this odd experience, became a lens through which I could re-examine my interactions with others, from lovers to strangers, into a greater understanding of the human experience as a whole. Anxious and transitioning into an incredibly depressive state due to other events with too many questions to bear, I deleted all social media from my phone. It became more apparent to me that I was never going to handle any situation well, because the true pain source was something much deeper. It was in the detachment from a virtual world, one I had allowed to shape my entire reality, that I actually read past that first page of the book. And as Bell Hooks eloquently navigates the transformative power of love, its role in personal growth, and its capacity to incite societal change, I found a way to process my thoughts and feelings into words. All About Love, New Visions was published in the year 2000, a time when Hooks was well established in her academic and writing career. Born Gloria Jean Watkins on September 25, 1952, a distinguished American author, theorist, educator, and social critic, Hooks was renowned for her writings on race, feminism, and class, focusing on the intersectionality of these subjects and their role in perpetuating systems of oppression and class domination. Her thesis revolves around a profound and nuanced understanding of love, drawing from Erich Fromm's definition, which describes love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Reiterating thoughts from M. Scott Peck, Hooks emphasizes that love encompasses both intention and action. This definition counters the passive notion of falling in love, that we as a society have come to accept as our greatest weakness. Instead, it underlines love as a deliberate choice, a decision, a judgment, a promise. We don't have to love, we choose to love. Hooks critically examines the conventional romantic notions that often negate the element of choice in love. Hooks references Toni Morrison's view of the idea of romantic love as one of the most destructive in human thought, often perpetuated by romantic lore and media, that love is something we fall into without will or capacity to choose. Are we simply taught to perpetuate suffering? If we have no choice in the matter, it suggests a lack of control or choice, which causes us to think love is something that'll happen to us, devoid of free will, as long as we just yearn for it. This impedes our ability to actually learn how to love. Hooks argues it leads people to substitute love for the romantic illusion, the socially constructed brick wall we've plastered pretty pictures of love on. She advocates instead for what she has designed as the love ethic. Hooks proposes that incorporating the love ethic in our daily life is not just about romantic or familial love, but about a broad application of its defining principles: care, commitment, trust, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. This integration requires an active awareness and mindfulness about our actions and interactions. By consciously practicing these aspects of love, we cultivate deeper connections with others, which then creates a more empathetic and understanding community. It requires confronting personal fears and biases and fostering an environment where every individual can thrive. By defining love in these terms of its active expressions, Hooks highlights the importance of intention. This approach demystifies love, but it places it within the realm of everyday actions and decisions. Lastly, while I advocate for the power of love in addressing personal and societal challenges, I do not view it as a panacea. A balanced approach, integrating rationality, justice, individual autonomy, and a variety of ethical principles is essential. It's through acknowledging the multidimensional nature of our experiences and the societal structures in which we operate that we can begin to grasp the true potential and limitations of love as a transformative force. In this light, my argument seeks to explore the influence of love, fully cognizant of its interplay with a broader spectrum of human experiences and societal dynamics. It's an invitation to a more holistic understanding of love's place in our lives, in the real world and the virtual. I'd like to read this quote by Sarah Schulman in her novel Conflict is Not Abuse. If a person cannot solve a conflict with a friend, how can they possibly contribute to larger efforts for peace? If we refuse to speak to a friend because we project our anxieties onto an email they wrote, how are we going to welcome refugee immigrants and the homeless into our communities? The values required for social repair are the same values required for personal repair. And so this discussion must begin in the most micro experience. Chapter 1. Oomph. One of my friends, one of my followers. Depends who you ask, depends who you're talking about. While oomph is primarily used to refer to friends/followers, it can also be employed humorously or sarcastically to describe someone without revealing who we're talking about. It's become a part of the online slang lexicon and is used by people to engage in gossip, share stories, or express their feelings about others cryptically. While online platforms allow us to connect with a larger number of people, these connections may not always achieve the depth and richness of a real-life relationship, where nonverbal cues, physical presence, and shared experiences play a significant role in deepening those bonds. This mirrors the changing landscape of friendship and connection in today's age. The art of fostering meaningful connections within it lies in balancing the breadth of online interactions with the depth of real-life relationships, striving for a harmony that enriches our social experience and emotional well-being. This is set to release on Valentine's Day, a holiday I feel pretty weird about. Throughout my whole life, and despite being in relationships when the day arrived, I've never physically celebrated it with a romantic partner for one reason or another. Maybe you've guessed that by now. The first person I ever dated was someone I met online my summer into my senior year in high school. I had transferred to public school by then, but had no idea how to make friends or talk to people without wanting to throw up the whole time. Growing up at a private school felt like growing up in a small town. It wasn't even something my parents could afford at the time, but made the sacrifice under the guise I'd be receiving a higher level of education. The people I knew my age were people I'd known since I was 6, and a lot of them didn't like me by the time we got to be 14. I developed a slouch by that point because I had a growth spurt and it became easier for people to see me hanging out with only girls. 14 was the age I was when I came out as bi to my parents and was told it was a phase at the time. I asked to transfer to public school out of fear of suicidal thoughts. Despite so much, I still viewed the world brightly and positively. It was here I began to realize the fragility in it and the possibility of that changing later on. I met my first partner on Instagram. They lived in Switzerland. We dated for nearly a year. Out of the hundreds of people I've matched with on dating apps or other social media platforms since I turned 18, I can only conjure up a handful of faces. A small percentage of those I actually met in person, and only a few turned into more long-term relationships. My first relationship ended as meaninglessly as it began, through an exchange of texts, swipes, button taps. At one point in my life, I had every version of People Dare Dash you could imagine. I would scroll and text through conversations that I'm not interested in, because the guy that actually made my heart skip a little from how attractive I found him hasn't messaged me back yet. If I'm feeling really hungry, I'll disregard the emotional connection completely and just order something based on how good it looks. I'll order a speedy delivery straight to my house that night. I hear the doorbell ring. I reach for the knob knowing that my order isn't going to look as good as it did on my phone. I already missed the simplicity of that exchange on a two-dimensional surface. I'm staring right at them now, but all I see in front of me is the meal I can't seem to digest yet. It wants to come back out the other way, and I'm not about to throw up on my delivery. They're staring back, weirded out. Is this the right address? The order speaks sometimes, and it shocks me every time. I hope it is. I hear the words come out of my mouth before I think of them. They taste sweet and spicy, but the flavor grows stale in my mouth. We're in the dining room now. I have my bib on. I'm ready to chow down. But somewhere along our walk from the front door to the table, I've lost all motor function. I must have stepped in a puddle again. As I'm trying to remember how to talk, they tell me a joke. It's so good to finally meet you in person. It's been forever since the last time we spoke. Such shocking words. I wake back up in a giggle. What do you mean? I don't remember speaking to you before. I try to put my fist in my mouth, but I still can't move my arms. I thought I programmed myself to be better than this. I thought I taught myself how to only say things people want to hear when they're physically close to me. I hated myself so much for saying that. I hated how easy it was to see it hurt them. The saturation in their face went down. I ruined whatever fantasy they had of me at that point. Out of the handful of faces I could conjure up throughout all my time on People DoorDash, I didn't remember the one as well as they did I. It ended as suddenly as it began. I tell the order, I'm sorry, but I'm not hungry anymore. You can leave. They understand what I'm trying to say, and I feel so bad about it. Why didn't I just stuff myself silly? The meal I couldn't get over was still churning in my stomach. I was going to throw it all up eventually. Why ruin their night? They came to be enjoyed. I could tell they put extra time in their presentation. But they reassured me that they understood, that this happens all the time. The words bore a sour scent that shot straight through my nostrils. In the way they understood me, I understood them. I hated myself more than I did a couple minutes prior. Who I now knew they saw me as. I jogged to the kitchen sink as I heard my front door close. The fact that I stood there for 10 minutes just for nothing to come out doesn't matter to me. Even if I threw up my lung, I knew the meal was still going to be there. After that night, I deleted People DoorDash. I decided it was time for me to learn how to cook my own food. Dating and social media apps, driven by profit motives, encourage users to present themselves, their lives, and friendships as part of a brand image, leading to superficial interactions, feelings of inadequacy, comparison, and reduced emotional well-being. Similarly, the wellness and beauty industries capitalize on the concept of self-care, often promoting consumerism as a path to well-being. Media and advertising create and perpetuate unrealistic beauty standards. This not only includes the promotion of certain physical ideals, but also the commodification of self-love and self-acceptance, turning them into products and services to be bought. Self-care involves being mindful of personal needs and well-being. It involves a continuous process of self-reflection to understand what we need to thrive, whether it be rest, social interaction, or creative expression. This self-awareness is key in navigating a world where digital interactions can sometimes lead to feelings of inadequacy or comparison. In the online world, publicly announcing you're taking a break from social media to focus on what really matters is seen a lot more often versus simply being selective about the content we consume to maintain mental well-being and a healthy worldview. Hooks explains that care is a dimension of love, but giving care alone does not necessarily mean that we are loving. She reflects on her personal experiences where she remembers moments of care in her life, even in the absence of a loving environment. Recounting a childhood experience in the novel, she distinguishes between feeling cared for and feeling genuinely loved. She notes that her family provided care, but she did not necessarily feel loved in her household. Hooks makes a clear distinction between love and abuse, stating that abuse and neglect are the opposites of nurturance and care. She argues that love and abuse cannot coexist, challenging the notion that one can claim to love while being hurtful or abusive towards oneself or others. This highlights the difference between authentic self-care and the superficial version that we've all been fed by new cultural norms. Active attention could become skewed towards maintaining an external appearance that aligns with societal standards. The pursuit of beauty and skincare routines can be a form of self-respect and understanding if it genuinely makes one feel good and confident. However, it's crucial to ensure that this pursuit is for personal satisfaction and not solely driven by external validation or societal expectations. True nurturing and self-care is about personal growth that encompasses both physical and mental health. While skincare and beauty routines can be a part of this, they should be balanced with other aspects of self-care that contribute to overall well-being. The hygiene addict phenomenon reflects the evolving standards of beauty in society, heavily influenced by media. This shift has significant implications for how people perceive and practice self-care. I struggled with severe cystic and hormonal acne for the majority of my teen years. It was a bumpy, no pun intended, road between different topicals, routines, treatments, face masks, toners, serums, oils, retinols, retin A through Z. Nothing seemed to put the little fuckers down. Until I went on Accutane during the last 5 months of 2021. On July 30th of last year, I posted a picture from before I went on the medication with a caption reflecting that. I remember that day being one that I felt really ugly. It didn't even look bad, something I didn't know until I had gotten responses asking what acne I was talking about. In defending myself with older photos where it looked worse, I realized it had been a lot worse at one point, but I felt ugly regardless. I don't have the right footing to engage casually with other people at the moment, let alone romantic partners. It's too crowded and too loud in my head wherever I go. And it wasn't until I sat with myself and accepted that for what it was that I could begin to weed out ways I was making it all so much harder. I talk funny with people. I can't engage with anybody sexually. I'm romantically barren. But it doesn't have to be who I am if I don't want it to. These are traits I'm inhibiting that I don't want anymore. I don't want these negative attributes to become definitions of people's perceptions of me. It took accepting those flaws, the consequences I was facing because of my behavior, that I could begin to change and grow for the better. Chapter 2. Oomph ghosted me. Modern relationships are not only shaped by shifting societal norms, but also deeply influenced by individual psychological factors, communication styles, and cultural backgrounds. Each person brings their unique history, beliefs, and expectations into a relationship. These individual dimensions can significantly impact how one perceives and engages. For instance, a person's attachment style formed in early childhood plays a critical role in their approach to relationships as an adult. Securely attached individuals may find it easier to form stable, trusting relationships, whereas those with anxious or avoidant attachment styles might struggle with intimacy or commitment. Additionally, communication styles often shaped by cultural and familial backgrounds can either bridge understanding or create misunderstandings in all the relationships. Recognizing and addressing these individual factors is essential for navigating the complexities of modern relationships. Situationships, informal relationships without a clear label, often lack the explicit commitment that Hooks advocates for. According to her, the concept of one represents a fear of commitment, which then leads to uncertainty and emotional ambiguity for the individuals involved. The ambiguity inherent in situationships often leads to emotional strain, which can be exacerbated by personal insecurities and past experiences. When individuals enter relationships without clear expectations or understanding, it can trigger underlying fears and insecurities. For example, someone with a history of abandonment might interpret ambiguity as a prelude to rejection, leading to heightened anxiety. Similarly, past relationship traumas can color one's perception, causing overinterpretation of actions or words, leading to emotional turmoil. It's important to understand how personal histories and psychological states play into the emotional dynamics of ambiguous relationships. Ghosting, where one person ends a relationship suddenly, withdrawing communication without explanation, is often a way of avoiding the confrontational aspects of commitment. It represents a lack of willingness to engage in the challenging yet necessary conversations that true commitment entails. Ghosting stands in stark contrast to Hook's idea of commitment, which involves presence, engagement, facing difficulties together in a relationship. Infidelity is a clear breach of the commitment to a relationship, particularly in the context of a marriage or a similar arrangement. The reasons behind its existence are complex and personal, often influenced by societal factors such as the portrayal of relationships in media, changing social norms, and personal unresolved issues. While societal factors like media portrayal and changing social norms influence perceptions and actions regarding infidelity, individual psychological elements are also crucial. Infidelity often stems from deeper personal issues like unmet emotional needs, desire for validation, or escapism from unsatisfactory aspects of life. It can be a misguided attempt to fill emotional voids or seek excitement. Understanding these personal motivations is key to addressing the root causes of infidelity. This understanding also sheds light on the need for emotional fulfillment and effective communication in relationships to prevent such breaches of trust. The evolving view of marriage as a path to individual fulfillment rather than merely a societal familial obligation has significant implications for marital dynamics. This shift can lead to marriages that are more focused on mutual growth, support, and personal development. However, it also raises the possibility of higher divorce rates as individuals prioritize personal happiness and fulfillment. In cases where individual needs and aspirations are not aligned, couples may choose to part ways in pursuit of personal growth. It's important to balance individual fulfillment with mutual growth and understanding in a marriage. In the digital age, a sense of competition and self-centeredness can be detrimental to the selfless nature required in committed relationships. While presenting challenges for relationships, it also offers unique opportunities for emotional connection. Digital communication platforms can facilitate maintaining long-distance relationships, providing a space for continuous connection despite physical separation. However, the emphasis on surface-level interactions and the culture of disposability can hinder the development of deep, meaningful connections. Navigating the digital landscape requires a conscious effort to foster authenticity and depth in relationships, going beyond the superficiality often promoted online. The portrayal of relationships in the media often sets unrealistic standards for what love should look like. They frequently depict love through dramatic gestures or idealized scenarios, creating societal expectations that real relationships in a world where people spend overtime just to make it by would of course struggle to meet these ideals too. This can lead to dissatisfaction and a sense that one's relationship is inadequate if it doesn't match these idealized portrayals. Online dating, social media, and instant communication have made it easier to connect with others, but they have also introduced challenges. The digital realm often emphasizes surface-level interactions and can promote a culture of disposability, where relationships are easily formed and just as easily ended. The focus on digital personas and curated online lives can detract from the depth and authenticity required for a meaningful connection. We all have various experiences where a lack of commitment to an individual's own needs led to everybody getting confused in the process. Our love stories are a timeline of those we share moments of intimacy, whether it be for a significant time or not, shapes how we navigate dating or finding a life partner in general. Seeing myself and my projected anxieties outside of the guilt and shame I felt for behaving that way allowed me to see the scenarios that I experienced for what they were, a lot of miscommunicated feelings. It doesn't excuse our behavior, but never having honest communication about the mistakes I'd been making with myself and those involved allowed all of us to get the wrong idea about each other. I tell this next story not to tantalize, only to share what I learned from it. One day, I was invited by a friend to stay with them while they were staying in a different city. This friend was someone where physical attraction for one another was implied, though no physical contact was ever made. We met during a phase in my life where I was romantically barren, coming out of an 18-month relationship only a few weeks prior. I was deaf to any advances being shown, so things remained in a weird limbo. For the most part, we were just background characters in each other's lives, despite experiencing a deeper connection when we were together in person. Fast forward later in the year when they told me they had available time and space to host me in a city I'd only been to once. I was so excited to see them, and I came just for them. I had only one other friend in the city at the time, and I didn't tell them any of that. Expressing my feelings clearly and honestly as I feel them, both with myself and with others, has been a personal struggle for quite some time now. My understanding of the confines of our arrangement and me coming to visit them and the definition of our friendship probably differed from theirs because I never told them what I felt for them. My friend had met somebody, and it was getting serious. I found this out on the second day when the three of us hung out and their bae of sorts treated me with a little hostility, like I was a stranger invading their space, which I was, though I didn't understand that yet. I brushed it off as just an abrasive personality or something. My only intention was to be friends with everyone I was being introduced to. I was in town for 5 days, but by the third day I was feeling more and more unwelcome. My first 2 days of being there played virtually the same, with me tagging along to the various places my friend went throughout the day, discovering new parts of the city and meeting their friends in the process, as I had done before when they were back where I was from. They had introduced me to someone they knew from back home only the second time I hung out with them, so I found this openness to include me into their established social groups really endearing and made me feel special. I recognized that I did not reciprocate in this exchange of friends, but considering that the second time I met them was also when they'd fly out, I didn't really have the opportunity to introduce them to any of my friends from home. On the second night, the two of them left the function we were at without me, despite all three of us going together, and it being the middle of the night in a city I didn't know. Whatever, they deserved to be alone. That much I could accept and understand in my head at the time. I'm an adult. I can take care of myself. As long as I could eventually come back to my friend's place and have somewhere to sleep, there didn't be an issue. Their bae left when I arrived, and the next morning I left the both of them alone. I called up my one other friend in the city who had time to fit me into their day, and I very happily got to spend the day with them. I wouldn't see either of the two until that night, being asked to find somewhere else to sleep. Thankfully, my friend had a futon for me. The ex I had broken up with earlier in the summer texted me out of the blue while I was out with my friend that morning, and it wasn't until I laid in that fetal position on my friend's futon that I gave myself the space and time to admit that it had completely ruined my entire trip and derailed my mental state into full-blown mania. I cried that entire night, crashing around 7 a.m. My friend shook me awake at around 11. They had to go to work. I apologized for the noise. I thanked them for the futon. I messaged them as I walked out into the city by myself. By then, I knew something was really wrong, but I still couldn't see my own involvement into how wrong things were going to continue getting. Affirmed when the friend I came to see asked me to find accommodation for my remaining 2 nights in the city while I was out. While it could have been easier to point fingers, blame them for my bad experience during the trip, and write them off as bad people, because having to see your own mistakes is never a good feeling, I contributed just as much to the mess by not sharing any honesty. I was so blind in my own grief, confused, lost, and hurting, so naturally confusing, losing, and hurting those around me. We all miss out on better experiences by getting weirded out in the process. Months later, after I woke up out of a cycle of erratic and impulsive behavior and began processing my thoughts into this, I reached out to my friend. It took longer than I would have expected from myself. I thought I was more put together. I thought I was smarter. I thought I was stronger. I thought I was over what happened to me just a few months prior. Regardless of how they perceived the situation and their actions alongside their baes, it didn't matter to me. I knew 4 months later I was still affected by how things ended on such a question mark, so I reached out to apologize for my behavior and involvement in the awkward mishap. Water under the bridge. That was otherwise an itch in the back of my head I couldn't avoid. I want to be able to zoom out on the conflicts I personally experience, see them for what they are objectively and generally, including my own contribution to the conflict. Initially, a welcoming connection into a social circle, which suggested a level of commitment and mutual respect. However, the introduction of a new romantic interest from my friend and the subsequent behavior exhibited brought about a shift in the eventual emotional distance that developed between everybody involved, reflecting a common challenge in maintaining consistent and transparent communication relationships. The Pew Research Center reports that younger adults are more likely to be distracted by their phones during conversations with their partners, pointing to a generational shift in communication habit. But the increasing use of online dating services preferred by different age groups reflects a significant shift in how relationships begin in the digital age now. Nearly half of partnered adults in the U.S. report that their partner is often distracted by their cell phone, highlighting the impact of technology on in-person interactions. Contrary to the notion that commitment limits personal development, a committed relationship can be a fertile ground for personal growth and self-actualization. Commitment in a relationship involves not just a promise to stay together, but a dedication to the mutual growth and evolution of each partner. It allows for a stable environment where individuals can explore their potential, supported and encouraged by their partner. This perspective of commitment aligns with Bell Hooks' ideas and underscores the importance of nurturing a relationship where both partners can thrive individually and together. Hooks describes commitment as a sincere and unwavering devotion to help oneself or others to achieve their goals of self-unfoldment, which involves being open to change and mutual agreement. This commitment is about being acted upon by the beloved in a way that enables more full self-actualization. She notes that deep commitment does not guarantee the success of the relationship, but does help more than any other factor to ensure it. This commitment is viewed as crucial for fostering the spiritual growth of another through a relationship of constancy. Commitment is also linked to living by a love ethic, which transforms lives by offering a different set of values to live by, like honesty, openness, and personal integrity. This kind of commitment involves making choices that reflect these values in both public and private decisions. The concept of commitment is contrasted with a desire for instant gratification, often seen in materialism, greed, or how every human experience has been commodified to give this rush satisfaction, dissipating as quickly as it came to make room for the next. Genuine love requires an investment of time and commitment, as opposed to seeking instant gratification or using love as a means to an end. Chapter 3. Oomph ghosted me, so I subtweeted. In 2024, our current state of digital communication has opened up unprecedented avenues for expression and global connectivity. This complexity is evident in the way individuals can share ideas across borders and cultures, fostering a global dialogue that was previously inconceivable. Platforms like Twitter, despite their limitations, enable the rapid dissemination of thoughts and news, often leading to social movements and community building. However, this also comes with the challenge of maintaining authenticity and depth. The rise of subtweeting and the culture around it reflect a shift towards more nuanced yet sometimes superficial forms of expression. While these platforms simplify communication, they also enable the spread of a diverse array of voices and perspective, contributing to a richer global discourse. It's crucial to balance the recognition of these platforms' limitations with their potential to connect and educate. Online behavior comes with its own rules and culture norms. In a constantly evolving landscape, subliminal messaging remains at the forefront. The rise of subtweeting highlights a shift towards more informal, concise communication. In the digital realm, where attention spans are short and information is plentiful, subtweets offer a way to convey a complex sentiment in a nuanced yet compact form. Combining the ancient art of innuendo with the cutting-edge dynamics of social media, as seen in the creation of the oomph, to have a good digital etiquette is to express opinions or grievances while avoiding direct confrontation. Concepts like doxing, publishing private information, or trolling, deliberately provoking and upsetting others online, are now widely recognized concepts. The balance between openness and privacy continues to be a significant concern. We've created a gray area between public discourse and private conversation. The impact of digital communication on relationships is multifaceted. While it presents challenges such as distractions during in-person interactions, it also provides vital tools for maintaining relationships. Digital platforms have become especially crucial for long-distance relationships, allowing partners to stay connected across miles. Video calls, instant messaging, and social media enable couples to share moments of their day, maintain emotional closeness, and foster a sense of shared experience despite physical distance.
However, the reliance on digital communication also raises questions about the depth and authenticity of these interactions. It's important to recognize that while digital tools have their limitations, they are also invaluable for keeping connections alive in a world where geographical mobility is common. While subtweeting is textual, it coexists with the trend towards visual communication seen on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and its own unique way, Be Real, reflecting a move towards diverse multimedia forms of expression in the digital age and a fear of going viral for being stupid, or worse, cancelled for the same reason. An emphasis on quote-unquote reality emerged. We want to be understood in a world of images. We're taught to aspire to imagery, to be like the person in the movie, failing to understand what an image or textual information provides for both the exhaler and receiver of that message. The struggle between authenticity and performance on social media platforms is a significant aspect of the digital age. Be Real's attempt to foster authenticity stands out as an interesting case study. While the app's design encourages spontaneous and real-time sharing, the very nature of social media can inject a performative aspect into these interactions. Even the most authentic platforms can't entirely escape the inherent performance involved in social media sharing. This dichotomy reflects a broader cultural trend where individuals navigate the desire to be authentic while also engaging in a level of performance that social media inherently demands. Understanding this balance is key to navigating the complex social dynamics of the digital world. Be Real's primary feature is its daily notifications sent at random times, prompting users to share unfiltered photos of their immediate surroundings and themselves. This feature aims to capture authentic moments, contrasting with the more polished content typically seen on other platforms. Be Real's approach was a step towards a more genuine online social experience. In contrast to feature-rich social media apps, its design was minimalistic, focusing solely on the sharing of daily moments without additional functionalities like filters or photo editing tools. The platform's existence can be attributed to broader social media fatigue. However, as more users join, the app risks becoming another platform where social dynamics overshadowed personal authenticity. It's no surprise that over time, users defined quote-unquote being real to actually mean having a daily pressure to make your reality a glamorized, consumable experience for others in the rawest form possible. This included waiting for the quote-unquote perfect moment to share their daily photo or even retaking photos, which contradicted the app's intent of spontaneous, authentic sharing. This shift was partly driven by the app becoming a trend itself, attracting users more interested in being part of a popular movement than adhering to the app's original ethos. Social media feeds are curated by algorithms, often designed to maximize engagement rather than provide a balanced perspective, leading to a distrust in the content we're exposed to. The proliferation of misinformation and fake news on social media platforms has further eroded trust. Users often find it difficult to discern credible information from false or misleading content. This increasing lack of trust is not just a byproduct of technology, but reflects broader societal issues. Social media in many ways mirrors and amplifies the complexities of trust. While it connects us in unprecedented ways, it also presents new challenges in how we perceive and trust one another. Addressing this crisis of trust requires a concerted effort from individuals, communities, and organizations to foster transparency, privacy, and authenticity in our digital lives. So in digital interactions, whether in personal relationships or in online communities, the development of digital ethics and etiquette can also play a crucial role in building trust. Encouraging responsible behavior online, respecting privacy, and valuing the integrity of information are all essential in creating a trustworthy digital environment. According to Bell Hooks, trust is the foundation of intimacy. When lies erode trust, genuine connection cannot take place. When users are more concerned with crafting a perfect image than with being truthful, genuine connections become harder to establish and maintain. Furthermore, Hooks touches on the role of fear in undermining trust. She notes, cultures of domination rely on the cultivation of fear as a way to ensure obedience. Fear is the primary force upholding structures of domination. It promotes the desire for separation, the desire not to be known. In the digital realm, this fear can manifest as a fear of judgment or rejection, leading users to present only the most favorable aspects of their lives. This behavior fosters a culture of mistrust. She explains that in relationships where love is present but one party desires control, love will never prevail. This dynamic hinders mutual satisfaction and growth, as trust becomes elusive when power struggles dominate the relationship. She suggests that genuine love does not require weakening ties with friends to strengthen romantic relationships. Trust is described as the heartbeat of genuine love, and it enables the establishment of intimate bonds. Hook shares her personal struggle with trusting others and being intimate. She describes how a fear of intimacy led her to choose partners who were emotionally unavailable. This choice reflects a common pattern where individuals opt for relationships that feel safer but are ultimately unfulfilling. I
think the hardest thing an individual has to process and understand is their own involvement and perpetuation of the pain experienced in their lives. If love is an active choice for ourselves and others, so is hate. This approach can be applied to understanding misery in one's life. Individuals often view their negative emotions or situations as things that happen to them rather than outcomes influenced by their own actions or inactions. Addressing underlying issues or not making decisions that could lead to growth, individuals might be perpetuating their own misery without realizing it. One of the founders of humanistic psychology, Carl Rogers, wrote, "I realized that if I were stable and steady and static, I would be living death. So I accept confusion and uncertainty and fear and emotional highs and lows because they are the price I willingly pay for a flowing, perplexing, exciting life." This is one of my favorite quotes as it encapsulates the essence of embracing life's inherent unpredictability and complexity. Rogers' perspective offers a discussion about stagnation versus growth, particularly in the context of Bell Hooks' idea about responsibility and action in love and relationships. Experiencing the full range of human emotions is essential to personal growth. The concept of stable and steady and static as akin to living death points to the danger of equating comfort and safety with a lack of change. While stability is often sought, Rogers suggests that a dynamic form of stability, one that incorporates and grows from change and uncertainty, is more conducive to a fulfilling life. Similarly, Bell Hooks advocates for embracing responsibility in relationships, which includes navigating the complexities and challenges that come with emotional connections. Rogers suggests that the fluctuating nature of emotions and experiences is not only inevitable but also desirable. It's a sign of a life fully lived, a contrast to the stagnation that represents a living death. This idea resonates with Hooks' view that love as an action requires engaging actively with life, including its challenges and uncertainties. Rogers' willingness to pay the price for a dynamic life can be seen as an acknowledgement of the effort required to break out of stagnation and embrace growth. Love is a powerful force for societal change. Addressing societal issues also requires pragmatic solutions and systemic changes. Love fosters empathy and understanding, crucial for societal cohesion, but systemic issues like inequality, injustice, and environmental concerns demand concrete policies and actions. For instance, combating social injustices requires both the empathy to understand the plight of the marginalized and actionable strategies like policy reform and educational initiatives. A holistic approach that combines emotional intelligence with effective action plans can lead to a more sustainable societal repair. Love, while powerful, cannot be the sole solution to all personal and societal problems. Rational decision-making, individual autonomy, and ethical considerations play equally important roles. The concept of self-reflection and taking responsibility is empowering, but it must be coupled with actionable steps. As previously mentioned, I went through a pretty rough breakup from a relationship that spanned 2 years, but when it ended, it felt like it was already dead for a long time. Exhausting over the details as to why that occurred isn't what I'd like to discuss, more so how I chose to cope with the lack of love that existed in that relationship. If all I could muster were thoughts and feelings rooted in fear and anxiety, why think at all? Things felt nicer when they remained quiet. There was a period in the relationship where nothing was happening at all. Many people find stagnation comfortable because it appears to be a conflict-free zone. However, the lack of visible conflict doesn't necessarily mean the absence of internal conflict or dissatisfaction. Making the decision to leave an 18-month relationship I had previously come to understand I had no choice in leaving wasn't easy, and it's here I began to process my suffering, the suffering my partner might have experienced, and the suffering we as a society experience altogether. In the context of relationships, injustice or suffering is rooted in the individual's belief, possibly due to societal or personal conditioning, that one must remain in an unsatisfactory or harmful relationship. In other words, perpetuate a cycle of their own degradation and suffering. The act of leaving, removing oneself from a negative environment severely affecting them, can be seen as a form of resistance and self-liberation, asserting control over one's life circumstances. The decision requires the individual to recognize their self-worth and take responsibility for their own happiness and well-being. This step is fundamental in building real self-esteem, as it involves acknowledging one's right to a fulfilling and respectful life. By choosing to leave, the individual is taking charge of their actions, goals, and ultimately their life. Chapter 5. Oomph ghosted me, so I subtweeted instead of crying. Why do I feel worse? Actively seeking to understand the diverse experiences and backgrounds of individuals starts with deconstructing the ones that make up your own identity and perception of reality. Knowledge here goes beyond mere facts. It encompasses an awareness and understanding of the complex social, cultural, and personal factors that shape people's lives. This form of knowledge is crucial for respecting and valuing the unique intersectional identities of everybody. What sounds like common sense is rarely used in daily practice. Acknowledging that every person's life experience is different and these differences require different kind of understandings and support is often ignored. The recognition is vital in fostering an environment where respect can flourish, as it allows for a more nuanced and empathetic approach to interpersonal and societal relationships. This overwhelming influx of information and the constant exposure to global issues via digital platforms can lead to a kind of desensitization. When people are bombarded with news about crises, injustices, and tragedies on the daily, there's a risk of becoming emotionally numb or indifferent, a state often referred to as compassion fatigue. This can foster an environment where apathy becomes a coping mechanism against the constant stream of negative information. Digital platforms enable the formation of parasocial relationships where individuals feel a one-sided connection with public figures, influencers, celebrities, or even their own friends. While these relationships can create a sense of connection and empathy, they also lead to a distorted understanding of any issues exceeding a personal level. Followers might develop a superficial or skewed perception based on the limited and often curated information that we share. Algorithms create echo chambers, showing users content that align with their existing beliefs. This can reinforce preconceived notions and biases, limiting the exposure to diverse perspectives and that are necessary for true empathy. Users might think they are becoming more empathetic and informed when in reality they're only seeing a narrow view of the world. As empathy becomes increasingly recognized as an important trait in leadership, there's a risk that it might be misinterpreted or misapplied, especially by those whose understanding of empathy is shaped primarily by digital interaction. Advocacy for affordable housing, comprehensive healthcare, inclusive immigration policies, and effective addiction treatment programs are examples of how societal attitudes can be mirrored in policy. Engaging in political processes and supporting organizations that work directly with these groups can lead to meaningful change. Building community solidarity involves creating spaces where people from diverse backgrounds can come together and support one another. This can include community centers, support groups, and local initiatives that foster a sense of belonging or mutual aid. Community involvement helps break down barriers and builds empathy and understanding through direct interaction and shared experiences. Being the most beautiful person in the room is a goal we shouldn't strive for, yet it's all that's taught to us. To have the best perceived style at any moment, to showcase your status, to elevate yourself from others in a social hierarchy. Recognizing the value of non-material contributions to society like caregiving and community building, and advocating for economic systems that prioritize human well-being over profit, you'll begin to see the patterns of how it affects your individual experience, the people you live at home with, the people you hang out with, the people you dislike, the people you pass on the street. Human beings aren't our thoughts or our feelings. Those are reflections of how we view ourselves and our environment. We aren't our thoughts or our feelings because a lot of our thoughts and feelings are taught to us. All we are as beings are a culmination of bodily functions trying to survive. As humans, we're not solitary creatures. When we're born, we're completely defenseless to the world around us and require a support system to nurture and raise us until we possess the autonomy to thrive on our own. Even so, that need for a support system never leaves. We are naturally social and emotional beings. We need love and support from people we trust in our immediate vicinity to create a thriving environment and worldview. If we don't have that, our mental state deteriorates. We start to feel worse about ourselves, about our world. This is where conflict is born, the opposite of compassion. To feel negativity is to be in a negative environment. To judge someone based off external or predisposed factors is a reflection of a personal insecurity. As long as God was considered to be alive in a general sense, the soul was more important than the body.
One wanted their soul to be loved or recognized by God. The desire for love or recognition by others, by society, was considered a sin. Worldly recognition as a substitute for true spiritual recognition. External values versus internal values. Thus, the relationship of one to society was ethical. One did something good for society to please God, not society itself. The death of God in modern and digital culture signified the disappearance of a divine viewer of one's soul, the supposed creator of it. God was substituted by society, and thus one's relationship to society turned from ethical to erotic. Now, the only possible manifestation of human subjectivity is the body, how you look, how clothes look on you, the things you do every day, the things you buy, the spaces you inhabit, and so on. Where religion once was, design emerged. Pulling from the innate desire to love and be loved, we created a design of it also. It's increasingly shocking to me how little we truly need. 6 components that make up love, as individuals trying to thrive in a world, or to simply be in a world that's thriving. How truly understanding love, a nurturing act that is an ever-evolving process, allows you to understand the world around you, the world in our screen, and our place in both. In this journey of the human experience, where each step is laden with both certainty and doubt, love can act as a beacon, guiding us through the complexities of humanity. Reflecting on my own experiences, from the highs of deep connection to the lows of heartbreak, I've realized that love is not just found but built and maintained with conscious care, patience, and self-awareness. In the digital age where connections can be as fleeting as they are deep, let us embrace it rather than fear it. Reflecting on social media and online interactions influences our perceptions and experiences of love. Cherishing personal connections beyond the digital realm, engaging in open and honest conversations about our emotional needs and expectations, taking time to understand the diverse perspectives on it, influenced by cultural and societal factors. Taking time to understand the diverse perspectives on love, influenced by cultural and societal factors. Most importantly, committing to continual learning and growth in our personal relationships. Love, in all its forms, requires effort, understanding, and empathy. Let's dedicate ourselves to fostering deeper, more meaningful connections in our lives. My only hope for you is that you find the courage to explore the depths of your heart, to love boldly and freely, and to remember that in this vast virtual landscape of human connection, every thread, including yours, is essential. Peace. Yeah.